Viene banana. Quiero escuchar. Sweet. Let me go back in. That's eight. I'm deleting this 8-minute video of us just saying nothing. Let's see. 1 second. All right, let's check. Let's check and see how it is. I need you guys to talk.
Me, I'm the one who coughed. Is that not good enough?
I did hear the cough too. Hold on, I'm just waiting for Walt. I can't hear you actually. Cannot hear you, Walt. Cannot hear you. Let me see. Let me check. Hold on. The live stream is working, so that's a plus.
Can you hear me?
Nothing yet. The live stream is working.
Testing.
It's weird that we can't hear you. That's the only thing.
It's so weird. This never happened.
Can you hear me? There you go.
Oh!
So I heard you, but then... Hold on, let me see. All right, yeah, it sounds good.
Okay.
Actually.
That's good.
I'll keep monitoring it as like we do the podcast, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So weird.
Yeah, no, I don't know what. Maybe it's been a while and it just something happened. I don't know.
I have no idea. Yeah, let me monitor it again. Let me just see how we actually sound because I don't want to sound like I'm in a pool of 10-foot water or something.
Oh.
So cough again.
You asked me to cough again?
Yes, peasant.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that again. I don't need to cough right now.
No? Okay, at least you talked.
It
Haha, we
comes
got
when it
you.
comes.
Talk like a sim.
I don't know what they sound like.
Surely Zimmer Orlum. Terrible girl. Rainbow Cedar Bottom.
We sound pitch perfect. Love it.
Great movie.
Pitch perfect.
Yeah. It's funny.
All right. Let me.
Mamma Mia is also a good musical movie.
Hey, yo, shout outs to Jim Ryan with the F your couch energy.
Oh,
Just
man.
like this week, man.
Oh, man.
That was wild. He's like, I don't want a deal. I want to block your merch.
Oh, man.
That was some wild stuff, man.
Bro,
If he really said that.
bro said, I am the one who knocks.
Yeah, he did.
Man, that man. People give so much shit. He like because he barely says anything. When he does, it's not good things. It's not the most tone. It's very tone deaf. It's very
Bro, that was something that's like, I don't want a deal. I want to block your merch.
All right, you got me, and I would have gotten away with you if it wasn't for you meddling kids.
Yeah.
All right, I'll be real. You want real?
Rick James, F your couch.
You want real community, huh?
F your couch.
I don't care about no merch or no. I want to block everything. I want the world to be mine. I want a Nintendo U.
It was mad funny. That dude's on a roll. Love it.
That guy is out of this world. Way too insane.
Yeah, let me check the sounds again, but we should be good. So I'll
Yes,
speed
please.
it out. See.
Let us know how it'd be sounding. Bruv. Oi, bruv. Oh, bruv. In it. British. Tuesday. Same, bro. Hey, you. You got what I need. And you say you're just a friend. And you say you're just a friend.
I'm just a friend.
Hey, you. You got what I need. Yo, so have you been watching Attack on Titan?
I haven't been.
Oh man, that's masterful work. You like what you read, man? Oh man, watching it is a different experience.
I'll get to it.
Yes, sir.
Y'all not getting part 2 or part 3 until like what? April or something like that.
I think so.
True one?
It's part
Oh my God.
part 1, season 3, final season, part part 1 of the last parts or whatever the hell it is.
You fumbling the hell out of that.
It's so dumb. There's like what, like 8 chapters left at the most, something like that.
So they just landed on the person that they're trying to stop.
Jesus Christ, dude. They're at the end.
They're literally at the end. But this is what I'll say. The last part that they released, which is part 1 of the final season, it feels like a movie. Because it's like one after the other. Like it's very cohesive in the way that they're doing it. It's like chapters now. It's not like episodes. It's chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And now we're going to 4, 5, and 6, I assume. But they're like movies almost. So they're and when I say that every single frame is thought out, this is MAPPA's best work yet. So I get what they're taking their time. They don't want to crunch that and for us look at a slideshow.
Yeah, I guess.
But it looks amazing.
He still doesn't have it. He's like,
Because it is a pain because like they did final season, then they did final season part 2, and now they're doing final season part 3, part 1, or whatever. Like they keep doing, and we had to wait a year.
It's dumb.
It is dumb.
Are we ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, they thems, welcome to episode 93 of the DualShock Sense podcast. I am your host, Soul, connoisseur anime waifus, joined by my 2 co-hosts. We have Walt, who is finally back from his little hiatus. Where you been, man? What's going on?
Oh man, life, you know? Am I right? No, it's going good, man. It's going, you
he had
know.
a throat infection last week.
It's I mean, yeah, I what initially, so here's what happened. I think it started as a throat infection and then it just became congestion and then I just kept coughing. But I'm better now.
I like the explanation here.
Oh, but I'm better. I'm living now. Well, last podcast I barely could talk. When I talked I was coughing a lot. And now I can talk a lot.
Yeah, Flame missed you, man. He missed.
Yeah, man. I texted him. We talked for a bit, and I'll be here next time he's here. I won't miss him next time.
We also have Masha here. What's going on, man?
What's up, everybody? King of Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy fanatic, live and present. If you haven't yet, go check out yesterday's video where we talked a lot about Forspoken's flop chronicles, along with Square Enix's mess ups as of late. It was a very fun stream. Got a couple people tuning in. Go check that out. And we also had a good birthday weekend, fellas. Karaoke, drinking, having a good time with everybody. It was a good birthday karaoke night. It was a lot of fun. Yeah, that's about it.
Nice. Yeah, so we got a good show planned for you guys. Not really too much happened this week, but we'll make it work. Before we get started with those topics, of course, want to remind everyone to go ahead and like the podcast, share it out, consider subscribing to the channel, all that good stuff. We would greatly appreciate it. And let's get started by talking about the games that we have been playing this past week. I'll kick things off first because, funnily enough, the games haven't been the most important thing for me this week. So I played a little bit more Hogwarts Legacy. I think I'm nearing the end because I just got to the winter section. Is that a correct assumption, Macho?
What section? The winter?
Yeah, winter.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're close. I think that's literally like the last third of the game. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, did that. Also, I finally started playing. I feel like this is one of those games that have just been like on my backlog that like I've been meaning to get to for a long time, but just for whatever reason, just like never really felt compelled to do so. And that is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Whoa.
Yes,
yeah.
finally.
Finally downloaded that, and well, you know why I finally felt compelled to download this game?
Right.
I think I know why.
I went on good old PlayStation Network or the PlayStation Store. I saw that price tag was $5. I rubbed my hands together and said,
man.
"Yes, sir."
Oh man, this man became a fly there.
Wait, did you not redeem it when it was on PlayStation Plus last month?
Was it last month? Really?
Yeah.
Ah, I bought it full price. It's fine.
Yes. I mean, at least you got it for $5. But like, yeah, legit, it was last month on PS Plus for the monthly like games. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I probably. I don't know what happened there.
I tagged you in Discord and Twitter.
Yeah, I don't know. My complication or my relationship with Star Wars is a little weird. So like, I almost kind of like had to like force myself to finally play it because like I don't know. I'm like up and down with Star Wars. But I'm really enjoying the combat. The combat is really fun so far. So yeah, not too much else.
It gets better, man. It gets better in the combat. I think you're really gonna enjoy that. You're gonna hate probably the backtracking, but the combat itself and just the story, it's like so damn good.
And the protagonist is really good. The Cal is like one of the better Jedi / just Star Wars characters.
True.
So yeah, not too much to really say on that. But the main thing that I've been doing this past week because I think it's like last Friday or like last Thursday, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I was really sick. So like I literally felt like doing nothing but like just stay in bed and watch TV. I didn't even feel like playing games really all that much this past week. And I got to catch up on a lot of TV. So first and foremost, finally finished season 3 of Harley Quinn.
Ooh.
That was really fun. Macho, I don't know if you saw that Valentine's Day special episode that they did, but that one is like a really good episode. Yeah, so finished that off. Finally watched. Keeping in line with HBO, I finally watched House of the Dragon.
Whoa.
Season 1. Yeah, I liked it. I don't know if I loved it, but yeah, I really dug it. So yeah, that was really really fun to watch, just to kind of like be back in that universe and stuff. That was really really cool. Another HBO show that I've been watching is His Dark Materials.
Yeah, based
Mm.
on the
Yeah,
novels. I love those. Yeah.
yeah. Um, and it's starring uh Daphne Keane, who was X-23 from Logan.
Hmm.
She's awesome. I really really love this show. I think I'm on like on the last episode of season 2 before I move to the final season. But yeah, it's a really really cool style of fantasy of like multiple kind of like worlds and universes and stuff like that.
It's dope. You got
Talking,
to read the books now, man. They're so good.
yeah, like talking animals and things like that, and show. Really really enjoying it. Um, but the most recent thing I've been watching is the show called Extraordinary on Hulu. And so like the basic premise, it's sort of The Boys-esque in the sense of like it is modern day, like what would our world look like if everyone had superpowers? Um, and the main idea of the show is that the main character is like she doesn't have superpowers. And it's like that's really really rare in this world for people not to have powers. So it's like her trying to navigate basically everyone's just like shitting on her because she doesn't have powers and she can't do anything. She isn't special or anything like that. It's a comedy series. It is absolutely hilarious because it's a British show and like I love British humor. Like so there's just something about British humor that's just like it just gets me.
You like dry humor?
Um I guess so. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the powers as well is just like pretty creative and out there. There was this scene yesterday where this veterinarian has this ability to he like hears the inner thoughts of like animals, so it's like literally the worst job for him. So like when he goes into the back area of the vet place or whatever, where all the animals are held, he just like walks in there and it's just basically a bunch of animals like yelling, "Kill me, please, just kill me, like get me out of here. I don't want to be here anymore." And then like he has to put on like headphones to like shut it out. And he's like putting like this little turtle away into like its cage, and he's like, "Yeah, you don't have the balls to kill me." um, and then the main character and the main idea of the show, of course, is like this girl trying to figure out how to like activate her powers. But then there's also this subplot of like this cat who you later find out is actually a human who has the ability to shapeshift, but he's been like a cat for like 3 years and he's like lost his memories and he doesn't know where he comes from and blah blah blah. So they have this idea in this episode to talk to an animal that he used to stay with, and maybe the animal like knows a little bit more about his past. And it's like this little like dog or whatever, and while the main character and the guy who could turn into a cat are visiting the vet, they like run into like this bunny, and the guy who has the ability to like listen to like the thoughts of animals, he's like, "Oh, if I were you, I would stay away from that rabbit. He's a little racist." Like,
What?
That's
so
wild.
right. um so then they eventually get like the dog who like knows a little bit about the cat's past, and cuz like they stole the dog from like the owner to bring it to the vet. And so the guy is like listening to the dog's thoughts to see like what the dog wants in order to like it's almost like a trade. So like, hey, you do this one thing for me, then I'll tell you guys about this dude's past. And the guy is like deciphering the dog's thoughts, and the girl's like, okay, so like, what does the dog want from us? And the guy's like, do any of you guys know what king shit is? So it's like basically like the dog like wants to do king shit.
What the
Like,
fuck?
and like that's the deal, like he'll so it's basically like the girl and the guy who could turn into a cat, this dog literally to the club where there's like a bunch of like strippers and they're like doing coke with this dog and
Oh
shit.
my god.
It's just like it's the craziest. It's
What
one
the
of
hell?
yeah, it's
What
it's so
the?
funny. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, there's like this guy who has like his ability is like he literally just by like touch he makes women like finish. So like his whole thing
What?
is that like he has to wear a glove. He has to wear a glove around people in public so he can't touch people. Like cuz he's just like too powerful. He's just too powerful. Um and then like even when like he's like cuddling like the main character, he has to like put pillows in between them so like he doesn't touch her.
Oh my god.
And then like the last thing I'll say is there was the main girl, she like goes to the dentist because like her roommate has this idea of like, okay, what if we have to like scare you so bad that your power just like comes out of you like that? So they end up taking her to the dentist, and the main like dentist lady there or whatever has this ability of like she makes inner emotions like come out but like in the way of like soundtracks. So like it's this weird thing of like, okay, if you're scared, then like you'll have music playing in your head that like reflects that. So like literally the moment that she like walks into the room and she sees the dentist, like you hear this like dark like brooding room and the girl's like, what the fuck is going on? And then this is like, oh my bad. I thought the receptionist. I always tell the receptionist that she should warn the guests of my powers before they walk in here. But yeah, my power is basically this, blah blah blah. So she gets into the seat and she's being like operated on or whatever. The dart starts like putting her fingers like in the girl's mouth. The music switches into like moaning noises. And then like dentist like pauses and like looks at the girl in her eyes, and they're just like, and the dentist is like, you know what? I'm gonna get you a Valium because like I don't want to hear this right now. So, but yeah, it's just like stuff like that, man. Like this show is it's only one season right now. Um, it has been renewed for season two, so like it's like 8 episodes right now, but like it is just absolutely hilarious just in terms of like what it does with like powers and people dealing with that and stuff like that. Um and yeah, it's such a great show, man. I'm like obsessed with it. Like I discovered it literally yesterday and I just like binged like six. I recommend it enough.
Oh
Um
man.
but yeah, that's been it for me, man.
Oh man. What about you, Macho?
Yeah, this week was I wanted to get more Octopath Traveler 2 in, but didn't really. It's because it was one of those weeks where we get home, have things to do. You only have like an hour or so to play a game, so I was like, I don't want to play Octopath Traveler 2 like that. So I decided just to go back to Hogwarts Legacy and achieve that platinum, which is not as a monumental task as getting the platinum trophy in Lost Judgment, which I still haven't gotten, but it's up there as far as like getting all the collectibles, getting all the pages in the world, and traversing and going to all the different like enemy camps, stuff like that. So it's definitely a collectathon of like a platinum trophy, which is fine because like exploring the world is really fun, stuff like that. But it's again, it was one of those weeks where I just had a podcast on the background, go around the world, just start collecting everything, find some new secrets and everything. So almost getting that. I just got a thing I gotta do, which I gotta go through the beginning hours 3 more times to get to the map chamber because you have to get to the map chamber with each of the Hogwarts houses to get the platinum trophy. So that's like the last thing I'm doing now. But other than that, it's been mostly kind of catching up on movies I've been wanting to watch for a while, and finally finishing the Lord of the Rings trilogy novels. So I finished that up, including the appendices and the Return of the King. And man, there's some damn good stories in that appendices that like normal people will kind of miss because they look at appendixes for like or the appendices for books and are like, whatever, I don't have to read them. But they just add so much more context and like history to all Middle Earth. It's kind of weird because when I was first writing my fantasy novel, like in 2017, I just stopped. Like when I got to graduate school, the first thing I did was before actually like I had a layout of the entire story. Um, and then I decided I wanted to provide more context, like the world I was building. So what I decided to do was build out more short stories and more different kind of side characters, stuff like that. And it's really cool to see that I was sort of unconsciously influenced by J.R. Tolkien's writing, where he built the Lord of the Rings trilogy after he created like this world and all these different stories and this huge background and history that doesn't even feel like fantasy. It feels like you're actually reading a historical novel, which is or a historical like non-fiction novel, which is like really crazy. Um, but yeah, I finished that up, and I'm reading The Children of Húrin now, which is a story that's set in the first age of Middle Earth, and it includes like it's a lot of these stories that are in the first second age are really tragic stories. It's not like they all have the happy ending like the Lord of the Rings trilogy does. Like all these either end in death or betrayal or some sort of crazy misalignment that sends these characters on these paths that eventually lead to what we have in the Lord of the Rings. So like it all funnels into like this greater purpose sort of thing, but like the steps to get there are just really insane. The fact that Jared Tolkien like planned all that out is like so masterful. Like there's a reason why like his work is so like so cemented in fantasy fiction and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been finished that up, and then actually a on Sunday, which is like on my birthday, I watched The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and I don't know if you guys watched this movie, but it's for some people it can be considered like a boring movie because you're just following the life of this one guy throughout the 1900s. So it's like a cool time period piece. But what the biggest flip on this movie is that uh, the Curious Case of Benjamin Button's what it's called, and Benjamin Button, what makes him special is that he ages backwards. So he was born as an old man with all old man and old people like diseases and stuff like that. So he has arthritis and cataracts and like all this stuff you'll find like in older people, and then he ages backwards. So like he's going through like World War II, and then his personal love life, like all that is going in the reverse order of age, which is actually really interesting to see. Because then he comes to a point where he does fall in love. He does meet he eventually has a kid, and he has to figure out, well, how am I gonna raise my daughter if I'm being aged backwards? Like this is so there's like this little bit of confliction there, and it's like a really fun and cool timepiece that I just love watching every year or so. Really, it's long. It's like a 2.5 hour movie, but it's definitely worth it for something that's like a really cool and interesting concept. And lastly, the movie I just talked about earlier, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, hit Peacock last night, and I ended up watching it. And that movie is a masterpiece. It's like this is like one of my favorite anime movies since I've seen Frozen 2. And man, like what a feat of animation! Like I was just blown away at what the style of it all was and how they were able to mix everything together and just make it so seamless, but also tell this really heartwarming and hilarious story. Like this is probably one of the funniest movies I've seen in a long time. It's that funny and so many great moments, especially with Perito, which is like one of the side characters that Puss in Boots coming across. And it's really interesting to see like the cat dynamics, like the cat personalities that Puss in Boots and Kitty's soft paws have. And then there's Perito, who's like this complete like bountiful happy-go-lucky dog that has always looking the positive side of life, and it's not grating at all either. It's not like annoying, like oh like God, he's always so happy. Like no, it's actually a really good thing considering like all the things that Puss in Boots is going through in this movie, considering it's his last life that he's living and death is literally chasing him. It's one of the coolest things ever. But yeah, Perito's just he's such a standout character, man. Like one of the things that the entire plot of the movie is that Puss in Boots is going to a certain point in the world where he's trying to acquire the last wish. This is with that nursery rhyme like Star Bright, Starlight, and something like that. And so he achieves the map. He gets a map to get to the last wish, and then turns out this map actually changes based on who is actually holding it. So they give the map to Perrito, and he looks at it, and it turns out like the map is like super easy just to go through. Whereas Puss in Boots and Kitty Softballs, they had to go through all this crazy torment and all these different lands. But for Perrito, it's more just like, oh, just go through this rose forest or where the case may be. But it's really cool how they laid it out because the rose forest itself, it blocks anybody that goes through unless you smell the roses. So it's actually tying back to the saying, wake up and smell the roses, like look what's in front of you, enjoy what's in front of you, kind of thing. So it has like a bunch of those little nods and winks um, to really meaningful life themes, and then on top of that, has a whole bunch of references to fairy tales. So you see Goldilocks and the Three Bears. What's John Mulaney's character? Well, I forgot his
Jack
name.
Corner?
It's God, I can't remember his
It's
name.
Jack Corner.
Jack Corner, yeah. So it's the pie guy.
Yep.
Yeah.
The big ass thumb. That man has
yes.
such a big thumb. I was scared the whole time. He's gave me a thumbs up. I'm like, oh man, no, not me. Not now.
Yeah, and the fact that it's a person keeps dipping it in pies.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, there's a whole bunch of references there. They do make some references to Shrek and Fiona. And, they don't just like completely disregard that. But yeah, there's a bunch of really great stuff about that movie. So highly recommend. It's on Peacock right now if you want to check it out. But I think I might just get it on 4K Blu-ray because it was that good and I love it that much. So, but yeah, that's all I've been doing this week.
Okay. Well, I mean, also gaming hasn't been too heavy. Can you hear me? Yo. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, there's a delay. Whoop. Can you hear me now? Okay. Can you check the video itself, the podcast, just to make sure that the audio is going through?
What the hell? We can hear you perfectly, man.
No, because like the earlier I checked and it was weird. So no, not much gaming. Mario Galaxy has been the game that I've been dipping my toes in. It's been more than 5 or 6 years that I've played Super Mario Galaxy. That game is still as magical and still as beautiful as I remember. I will say, nostalgia truly is a big factor, and we all know this. But it's the kind of thing where there's certain games, old games, that you don't really revisit because there's no real need to, or you could ruin your experience. That's not been the case with Galaxy, but what I will say is that Odyssey truly did become my favorite one. Galaxy was my favorite one for the longest time, but I can safely say that Odyssey broke up into the number one. Dude, and Super Mario Odyssey is truly one of the greatest games ever made. One of the greatest platformers. But this week, I also saw Puss in Boots. That was a beautiful, beautiful movie. It really hit home with a lot of its themes and a lot of its messages. Beautiful movie too. It's almost like there's moments where I'm like the last time I had this much fun with a animated movie was like Into the Spider-Verse. Like this one gave me that same type of passion and pacing and the frames that they used in certain moments and I gotta tell you, Macho, that's one of my favorite antagonists in a movie yet. Not Jack Horner, not Goldie. They're all great, but the other one, which I won't spoil in case people haven't seen it. That is one of the best ways to represent that concept, and it was such a great. Other than that, I've been again watching Peaky Blinders, really enjoying my time with that. I'm taking my time. That show only gets better every season. It does not stop getting better, and it does not stop getting sadder. There's a lot of sad moments in that show. But mainly, I've just been kind of just watching here and there things that I haven't seen in a while, replaying games that I haven't, like Mario Galaxy. But most current was Attack on Titan. That's been really the one thing that I'm really looking forward to the most every week. Even though there's not a weekly showing, it is a weekly timer. Because right now, oh wait, why my video stopped? Is the podcast still live, Macho?
I mean, I still see it, yeah.
Okay, because it was buffering for a moment there, which is what released last week.
Yeah, we're still good, still live.
And essentially, we are literally in the last chapters of the Attack on Titan manga, but in anime form. And this is truly Mappa's greatest work. Every single frame, every single moment, every single dialogue, the music, everything is going down really like legendary, truly. And I cannot wait to see how they handle the very last moments of that show, of that manga. Because it gets crazy. It's going crazy now, but it gets crazier. Like it gets dumb. Like some moments are like so dumb, like in scale. It's ridiculous. It gets absurd. It gets almost like cosmological in some points. But yeah, man. I'll be honest. Like one of the biggest things I've been doing this
They're
week.
gonna pull it off.
Oh, dude, they are 100,000,000% they are. What I will say, the story is not going to change. So I think that's the only part that people might go, oh, this wasn't as good, whatever. Because with the ending of anything, people will have very, very specific feelings about it. And I think that the finale, without spoiling the manga, the Attack on Titan ending, because I've read throughout the entire manga, is incredibly controversial. Because you have a show that's relied on world building, that's relied on twist, that's relied on character interactions and character motivations and intentions. And the ending, there's no more of that. Like this is the end. Like everything has led up to this. And I think that it's either you love it or you really are indifferent about it. Or you hate it. Truly, there's no other, like, the spectrum doesn't really vary in that sense. But I think they're going to land. They're going to land it. They're going to adapt it. It's better in anime form. But fall 2023 is going to be Attack on Titan Season 4, Part 3, Part 2. And that's the true finale. That's going to be the true finale. Because they only have a handful of chapters left to cover. And those chapters are meaty. Because there's barely any dialogue. Most of Attack on Titan has been dialogue. What's left of it? Nah. Pure action. Pure adrenaline boosting action. It's incredible. But yeah, man. That's what I've been
That's awesome.
dude, it's incredible. But that's been pretty much what I've been doing this week. And Marvel Snap, of course. I never missed my moment to play some Marvel Snap. That's still there. I didn't delete it. I didn't become an addict like Macho.
Yeah, I had to delete it. I had to.
My man said became a problem. But yeah, man. Let me tell y'all. You want to know what GameStop did, huh? Y'all want to hear what happened to me this week? So Resident Evil 4 Collector's Edition was supposed to be in a GameStop exclusive.
This MFer didn't even wait for us to give him an answer. He was like, oh, you want to hear what happened to me at GameStop? Okay.
I mean, I'm assuming that you want to hear about
the
it.
audience, so you have it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You ain't my audience, soul. Get out of here. They canceled my collector's edition. They canceled every in-store pre-order of the collector's edition for Resident Evil 4 Remake.
Good.
And they canceled a good bunch of them from online.
Wild.
Yeah, dude. And I had paid it off. I had it paid off. So $270 or something like that I had to use. So I did what any sane human would do. I put in some other games. I paid off Wulong. And I paid off what game was I picking up that day too? I think there was some games on sale because I got on sale. Oh, actually, I got on sale. I got Midnight Suns on $40, and I got Death's Door for $10.
Nice.
Yes, sir. So it's been good and bad because that cancellation. I'm not gonna lie, it kind of hurt because that was one of the few collector's editions I was actually looking forward to. But it is what it is. I don't know if it was GameStop or it was Capcom. I don't know who kind of messed up, but hey, here I am.
It was definitely GameStop. It was definitely them.
Yep. But yeah, man.
This is not the first time they had to cancel like a whole bunch of mass orders because I remember when the Kingdom Hearts 3 limited edition PS4 and man, I remember pulling on the side of the road, seeing that announcement, pulling over on the side of the road and making the order because no less than a month later, they started canceling a whole bunch of online orders, and me and my friend were like ripping our seats, like, are we gonna be the ones? Are we gonna get the bad news? And thankfully we didn't. But man, I just remember that the Thanos snap existence from that was like wild. So I'm sorry for your loss. Well,
hey man, it is what it is. I still got the game. They gave me a $10 discount on the pre-order for the standard edition, so they did some well.
Yeah, crazy. 0 days have gone by without some sort of issue at GameStop. Um,
Hey man, they're dying.
so let's move into some of these topics. Talk about our first topic, Wolong Fallen Dynasty. This is probably going to be a really short topic because none of us have played Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Do any of us intend to actually pick up this game?
Yeah, I paid it off. I had it pre-ordered, so I had the Steelbook edition.
Not me. No.
Mm-hmm. But I
So
haven't
like
played it.
I'm curious as like the resident like Souls. I'm curious since you're like the resident Souls guy, Walt. Like
Yeah.
why wasn't this a day one for you? Especially because I mean correct me if I'm wrong, but like me and you are both like big Neo fans, so like I'm
Yes.
surprised that you didn't get this day one.
Did you play the Neo 2?
Hell yeah, dude.
I uh I haven't really beaten Neo 2. I love those games. I think with Wulong and although it wasn't a day one, I
Yeah.
did pre-order it and I do have the Steelbook edition because I paid it off with the Resident Evil money. Uh, but I haven't hooked it up. I haven't played it. But I'm looking forward to playing it because I do love the aside from Strangers of Paradise, I do love that style of fighting and world and mechanics that uh, Neo 2 had. So Wulong looks just a lot of people are comparing it to like having their Sekiro fix, which I'm excited because Sekiro is one. It's probably my number two favorite FromSoft game. Uh, so I'm excited. I'm excited to dive into it, but I don't know when because I have to be in the mindset of patience.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. This is with especially with Team Ninja specifically.
Mm.
I feel like I agree that you kind of have to be like in a mindset to play their games because like at least with like my experience with Neo, like that was like one of those games where like you have to like it's almost like you're preparing for like a I don't know like a triathlon or something like that. Like you just
Hmm.
have to kind of like be solely focused on like how like athletes will like prepare months in advance for like a big like sporting event that they're doing or whatever. And it was like for Neo too, it was just like one of those things where it was just like I was solely focused on like that game and that game alone for like 2 months and like nothing else was like on my radar. Just because that's the kind of game that like you step away from it, you kind of lose that like muscle memory. At least that's what happened to me. Is that like something ended up because that was in 2020, so that was the year when like so many good games were coming out, and something came along that like took my attention away from Neo 2, and then the moment I tried coming back like a few months later, I just like lost like everything. I like forgot how to play that game, and I just have never been able to come back to it. Just because again, like you're solely focused on that game for like 2 months. Um, and then the second that you kind of pull away from it, it's like yeah, just like you just forget everything. Um,
Hmm.
so yeah, I don't know if I will play Wolong Fallen Dynasty. Just because I don't know, like looking at the gameplay, it's I don't know, I don't know, it's not like super calling to me like Neo did. Um, but I will say that like, and I don't know how you feel about this, Wall and Macho, if you want to get into this as well, is the one of the big differences I've been seeing about this game is like the companion system. So like, it almost or from what I've seen from like reviews and people talking about this game is that like you pretty much have like a companion traveling with you like pretty much at all times. So like I do wonder, and from software games have has the ability for you to like summon allies and stuff like that occasionally, but
Hmm.
like this is, I just wonder how much does that change the formula of like actually having just like a character with you pretty much at all times, like during bosses too and stuff like that. Like I don't know, like I do you guys feel like that changes like everything, or are you guys like okay with that?
From what I've heard from Jake Baldino, was it from the Before You Buy series. He was
Yeah.
saying that it was good because of the fact that that would mean that bosses take the heat off you because they'll take aggro, so it can more or less make some bosses easier.
Right, right. Yeah, for sure. Well,
I
what about you, man?
I will say that it's interesting because I it has to be so hard to us optimize a boss or an encounter for both 1v1 or 2v1. I think I'm always down for a companion as long as it's either simple enough to where it doesn't feel useless, or nuanced enough to where I actually have some control over it. But it's like, yeah, the aggro thing, like, and it's in FromSoft games. I feel like with Elden Ring being the most recent one, there are some bosses that the aggro, the taking away the aggro, just it becomes too necessary because the 1v1 aspect is so miserable. Specifically, with one of the one boss that I hate the most in that game, which are the skeletal angels that are in the underground. There's one boss fight that you have to fight two at the same time, and unless you have a companion or are amazing with precise, dodge rolling and attacking at the right moment, you need someone else to take one of them away from you. And I think that Neo did that well because in Neo you can have 2v1s or you can have a companion at times. But the combat is so fast paced and the enemies react so quick that it doesn't feel unfair for the enemy itself. So you'll be fighting a boss and your companion took the aggro. You attack him a few times. You can only attack him a few times because if you attack him one more time, they're going to hit you and ignore your companion. You're going to take massive amounts of damage, probably dying. Because the bosses with Team Ninja, they're not easy. Like the first time around, at least. Like they can really pack a punch. And with Neo 2, they really like step it up. So with Oolong, I mean, I'm down for it, man. I'm down for a good companion. As long as the design is like optimized and it doesn't feel like it takes away from the overall experience, which hasn't been the narrative I've been seeing so far. So far, the game has had great reception.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so I mean, shout out to Team Ninja. It looks like they made another really really great game. I look forward to seeing how Rise of the Ronin is going to be
Yes,
received.
sir.
And just like
I'm
I
actually
don't know,
pumped for that one. Yeah.
yeah, and like it's a lot more open world, which I'm gonna be curious to see like their take on the open world formula because I don't know if Wolong is or if it's more akin to like how Neo was and it was like more level based. I hated the levels in Neo 2.
Mhm.
Just like
Man.
especially and I guess it's kind of like unfair to like compare, but like I don't know, it's really easy to do, but just like comparing the levels in, at that time I had played, Dark Souls 3 and Bloodborne obviously, and then my experience with like Demon Souls, um, it's just like comparing those levels to like the ones in Neo 2, like it was just so boring to traverse like all of those levels. Um, and so like I'm just curious to like the Ronin truly is like a seamless open world, like just how they're going to handle that. Um, but yeah,
Hopefully, it's not boring
regardless,
to explore. That's the only reason why I haven't really delved into Neo 2 or really care for Wolong, because the
yeah,
most interesting part about those games is, to me, is the environments.
yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, like, I'm just really addicted to the whole um kind of Resident Evil style of level designs where you have like this sort of character world or character levels, and you keep exploring them, and then you find one secret that leads to another, then the secret you saw before that is solved by keeping on, progressing forward, and you eventually find one way or another. So you have ways, so it's like backtracking, but it's masked in this like way of discovering things, and
Yeah,
Mhm.
you kind of lose that with Neo because like it's all action based. But
Ninja Gaiden, although those are linear games, I think that
yeah,
they really do focus more on combat because you have high stands, low stands, mid stands. You have all these magic abilities and combos and whatever. So it is more of an action game, more like a Sifu type deal where it's like focused on action. Although Sifu has great level design, uh, but that's why like people like FromSoft are like kings in level design because the worlds feel so insanely, impossibly intricate. But how do you design everything just in a cohesive way? That's why Sekiro works. Sekiro is the type of place where it everything just makes sense, even though when it doesn't, because like, wait, how does this lead to here? And it's like, oh no, wait, it does make sense. They've crafted it in a way that it's so seamless. You know, Bloodborne, Elden Ring, like, but Team Ninja, I think that's not the purpose of their games. I think as Neo One, I remember my big interest with that was just getting the better gear from the harder bosses, kind of like like my mentality with Destiny. And it was more of a okay, how can I optimize myself better to like defeat this boss in like in a better way or like faster. Um, and then you have stupid ass missions like Neo One. There's this one mission where it's like end game mission. There's no level. You just go into a room and fight a boss, but you don't fight one boss. You fight three bosses. You don't fight any three bosses though. You fight the three most impossible bosses in the game at once, and they're all coming at you at once. And that's when you know, okay, like this game is a 1v1 type deal. Like that's when they first start finding their footing. That's why Neo 2 works better now.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, man, that is Wolong Fallen Dynasty.
Yes, sir.
Once again, just it's good to see Team Ninja, continuing. I mean, aside from Strangers of Paradise, it's good to see them kind of like get back on track with this one.
I love how that's the nope, not talking about that one.
Listen, as soon as that game hits $20, I'm all over it, baby.
That it's also gonna be really really good. So yeah, that is Wolong. Let's move on to sort of the big topic this week, and that is Suicide Squad killed Justice League. So I think it's important to note that this is just a report from Bloomberg, so like nothing has been confirmed or anything like that. Regardless, it's still interesting to talk about. So yeah, it was reported by Bloomberg earlier this week that following the State of Play showcase that Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League had, where they showcased like over 15 minutes of gameplay. Following that showcase and the backlash that came afterwards, the game has since been delayed internally to later this fall. There wasn't like a specific release date given, just quote unquote later in the year. So yeah, once again, just a report. Nothing has been confirmed. But even still, I wouldn't be too shocked if this is true. So yeah, I mean, I guess my biggest sort of like thoughts with this whole thing is that like to people who are expecting like some kind of huge like overhaul of like the game, to happen, like during this delay, I think you guys are delusional. Like the live service aspect of this game is like baked into this game. Like they are not changing that. They can't change that in the couple of months that they're giving themselves for this delay. There's no way they can uproot that entire, like that is literally the game. That is literally years that they have spent developing all of those systems and blah blah blah. It is too late for them to completely change that stuff. I think the game will get more polish, but maybe some things will change here and there. But like for people who are hoping that this means that the game won't be a live service anymore, I think you guys are out of your mind.
Or even changing like mission structures, like or what's already set there.
Yeah,
Like
it's
that's
too late.
already
Yeah, it's
yeah.
too late. That stuff is already in there.
It takes years to
So yeah,
rework.
that's kind of my biggest takeaway.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's my biggest takeaway. What about you guys with hearing about this? Did it make sense for when you guys saw this? Were you guys like, yeah, that makes sense?
What do you think about Joe?
Well, we talked before how was it last week? So we're talking about how it was placed in like the worst time frame. Oh no, it's with Gene we're talking
Yeah, Gene.
about that because of the fact that like the time where it's placed is like right after Zelda. Gene was saying how like that was like their Memorial Day weekend where people were leaving, so like this game was sent out to die essentially. I don't think I mean, I think partially it was the delay for bugs and fixes and stuff like that. I think it was mostly to really round out the live service aspect of that game to actually so it can actually have legs beyond its launch date, because that's like one of the main reasons why a lot of these games die nowadays. We saw with multiverses, Avengers took forever to get its content out.
No, it's
The
dead.
one $30 on release or higher if you wanted more items and stuff like that. And what they did was they gave you a full 50 to 60 hour game you could just sink your teeth into, and then they got their first content update like a month or two afterwards. So that's like the perfect time frame. So they did it correctly. And I think that's what Rocksteady's doing now, just to make sure that the people that do buy the game and support it day one are rewarded for it. So
Well, what about you, man?
I mean, man, I don't. Listen, man, I wasn't interested in the beginning. I'm not interested now, and like this, man, it's whatever, man. Like truly, this is one of those games that I never really got even remotely interested. Like maybe at one point when I heard the idea, the concept of it, I was intrigued. But the more and more I've seen about what it is, and the more and more I see of what it's gonna be in the long run, I'm just like a live service just has to be. It has to hit 100% for me because that's an investment. It's a time investment you're putting in. When I don't want to invest time in shooting purple stuff, purple spots and enemies, and just not do anything else. Like the game feels, for the time that it's been in development, for the people that are making it. I look at gameplay for it. I look at and it's. I'm just. It's whatever, man. They can do whatever, man. Push it, delay it, work on it, change things. The game, the core game, it's not. It is what it is. I hope it finds its audience. I mean, when Macho said that a lot of live services are just dying, um, we won't know at the release with this one. We'll know a year or two in. And honestly, I could be wrong. It could be the next Fortnite or something. I don't know. Could be the next Destiny, but I don't know, man. It's whatever. I'm not really crazy about the journey that this game has been in. Characters look cool though. That's the one thing I'll say. Design is through the roof. It's the same people that did Arkham Knight, man. Same people that have done some of the best superhero games in modern gaming history. So we'll see.
I just feel like, and I don't know if you guys agree with this or not, but like
Mm.
for Rocksteady to have not made a game in what, 8 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
7 or 8 years, whatever it is.
So yeah.
Um, I feel like it was a real like massive gamble to make a game centered around the Suicide Squad. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think some of these characters are cool. I really like Harley Quinn, but like I don't know if anyone's really clamoring to play as King Shark. And look, I love King Shark, you know? That's my boy in the Harley Quinn animated show.
Mm-hmm.
I love King Shark, you know? But like I like, do you guys like agree with that? Clamoring to play as these characters for like a whole campaign? Like it's different with the Avengers, like, because that's the goddamn Avengers, right? But like
Yeah.
I just feel like they were already, like, right from the jump. As soon as this thing was announced, they were fighting an uphill battle when you go out there and say, "Hey, you get to play as the Suicide Squad." You know, it's kind of like, okay,
like Asm, honestly.
yeah. I don't know, man. I just feel like that was a really big gamble on their part. Like, I wonder what possessed them to make that decision instead of like, because like you would assume like Insomniac that they had like a whole roster of characters that they could have centered their next game on, but for it to be the Suicide Squad is just kind of like, I don't know. I really would have loved to know like why they choose them out of all the characters that they could have chosen. You know.
I'm surprised they
Um,
didn't just go with Green Lantern, to be honest with you.
See, I wouldn't have been interested in that at all.
Until
But
you see until you seen it and saw what it was capable of. You're like, all right, maybe this could be something.
But I think part of them did believe that this would hit. Because, I mean, look at, not the same medium, but look at things like Guardians of the Galaxy. When the movie came out, such a absurd premise. but it worked. James Gunn made it work, but with Suicide Squad, the first one didn't really. No, we don't talk about that. But then the Suicide Squad actually caught people's attention, and I think that it's what again DC is doing, what James Gunn is doing is bringing these very not niche but unknown or kind of underground characters and making them like front and center and doing it well. But I think with the Suicide Squad, I don't also think it's like specifically that it's the Suicide Squad. It's the members that they chose, you know, because I think Boomer like like conceptually theoretically, Boomerang Man Shark, what's it, King Shark, Deadshot, like these characters are interesting in one and some aspects. So I think that the way that they went about it, it's just they fill a role in the life service scenario. Your tank, your long range, your close melee, and your jack of all trades. And I think that's kind of like where they had to put their gamer mode on and be like, okay, we need we need variety, and we need also variety in personality, not just in roles. But I think this would have worked better as a Guardian, like the Guardians game. Imagine if Kill the Justice League was like the Guardians game, that very very intimate, developing relationships, going through the story, going through different parts of the world. You develop types of friendships between the actual Suicide Squad themselves. But it's kind of like you have this great idea, these great designs, and it's just fitting a life service setting. I think that's what put the nail in the coffin. The fact that it's life service. If it was more like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think it would have worked better.
Yeah, I just don't get the appeal of it. Like, because one of the things they highlighted in that breakdown was you can earn different cosmetics and stuff like that and different upgrades for guns but like it all feels the same.
Yeah,
like,
life service.
You get submachine guns, you get assault rifles, and you can change the look and this that, and like you get like cool character costumes, so you can have Harley Quinn wear a Wonder Woman costume, whatever. Like, all right, cool. But like, what's the other hook besides that? Because there has to be like a good gameplay hook to all of this.
You know what game did
I don't
that
see
and
it.
failed miserably? Anthem. Anthem tried to do the variety of loot, the variety of cosmetics and paints and paint jobs that you can have on your javelins and all these things, and that's not. It was lifeless. The weapons. And let's be honest. I know I always bring it like with life service. Look at Destiny again. It's still kicking. It's still doing well. And what makes it stand above the rest? It's also let's talk about loot. When you look at the loot in Destiny, it's like every gun was crafted in like very specific measures, very specific concepts, very specific. Every gun has a theme. Every gun has a personality, some lore attached to it. It's not just submachine gun, but it's purple. But this one's got a stock. But this one's got like an extender or whatever the hell. This one shoots lasers. Oh, that's not interesting. That's not like it. For you to craft a legit life service, it has to be like really damn nuanced. And this is just not. It's like you say, much. It's not working. It ain't. They really kill the Justice League. They killed the game. That's why it's called Killed Justice League. It's killing the damn game.
Jesus.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
If Avengers didn't hit so, this ain't hit it. There's no way. There is no way. If Avengers, Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, if that didn't work, this ain't working.
Yeah, that was during the height of MCU too. So
Exactly.
The story really has to carry this game, man.
But it's not.
Like
it's not. It's gonna be a few cutscenes, and there's gonna be a lot of fodder in between each cutscene. You're gonna want to just watch the movie on YouTube. If you want to play this game, just watch it on YouTube. Just watch the compilations that people make of the cinematics. Because why am I?
You know what? I'm gonna disagree and say that the story's actually gonna be good. It's actually gonna be decent.
I hope so.
I hope so. I think it's gonna cop out and not kill a lot of Justice League members.
I don't think so either. But
that'd be amazing.
no, I think it's gonna be interesting. Because I feel like the few cutscenes that we've seen already, like I've generally liked them.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know, man. It's gonna be.
They look good. No,
I don't know.
and you can
It has
make
a lot
each
against it.
each member of the Justice League soul can be a raid type deal. Can be a very specific way. Let's say you, and this is where like it'll get tricky because when you incentivize having more people, that's when it gets a bit tricky because then people are like, no, but I want to play by myself. You know, the type of thing where it's like, no, it's just me tonight. Everyone else is busy, and then it becomes a scheduling type deal. Hey, let's meet up on Saturday to fight this, which is a good experience or whatever. But make it like a true challenge. You're gonna kill Superman. It's a raid in and of itself. You have to like do all these things around the city to prepare to capture or neutralize Superman, and then each one of you has a different task. Like make it interesting. Make the killing of the Justice League, the what arguably are considered gods because of how extremely powerful they are. Make it no, I can change them. Don't make this a Naruto thing where he just changes every villain and doesn't kill them or anything. She's like, no, talk no jutsu. Bah. No, no, there's no talking with Brainiac. Kill Superman. Yeah, Peter, it's me. Stop. Ah. Damn
Macho, do you know what he said?
it.
I kind of zoned out. I was like, oh, I kept like exploring this forest and how awkward I could see.
Shut the hell up.
Oh.
I was looking at the trees. I was like, damn, these trees are really green. And then I heard the wall go, rah, rah. I was like, okay.
Eat a cactus. Piece of shit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Damn, I'm using that one now. Instead of punching the throat, eat a cactus.
But I don't know, man. I'm hoping for the best. It's just wild, man. That again, after 7 or 8 years, that like, it just I can't imagine being at that studio for like working on something for so long, and then like you're just starting to like finally like reveal what this thing is, and just to have immediate backlash. It's just like it's rough, man. It's so rough.
Heartbreaking, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do, man? You know?
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, and like, what happens? Like, I like look. This definitely is not going to be a Luminous Productions type of situation, but it does make you wonder. Like, okay, so like, is their next project? Do they just go back to a straight up single player kind of game, or do they double down on live service? Like, especially if you know you're Warner Brothers Discovery. Like, what do you
Whoa.
do when you see that? You know, like when you see all this, do you kind of like backtrack and be like, okay, no, Rocksteady, your next game needs to be single player, or do they just double down on this? Like, I don't know, man. It's gonna be weird. Like, Rocksteady's future is gonna be really, really interesting to see, like, what happens to this studio, and like, will they be able to like recapture like who they used to be? You know, I don't know.
I think they'll be okay in terms of this. I don't think they'll shut down or anything like that, but
I don't think so either.
but yeah, I think it's just gonna be a long another decade for them to kind of
Jesus,
get
can you
back what
imagine?
they sort of lost, you
Can
know.
you imagine if they take that long again for their next game?
I don't know, man. I don't think they have the same privilege that they've had after Arkham Knight, you know. I think the table's gonna be a little smaller for them this time around.
Yeah,
Unless they have a really good pitch for Warner Bros. Discovery to cough up like another like 100 million, $200 million to make a game, you know.
yeah. But yeah, man, that is and it's weird because like okay, so obviously Hogwarts Legacy was a really really big success for WB.
Yes,
You
it
would have to
was.
imagine that Mortal Kombat will also be a big success for them as well. But then it's like you had Gotham Knights kind of flop, and we're all expecting this game to also flop. So it's like I don't know, man. Feels like it's going to be hit or miss for WB games.
Yep.
But anyway, that is Suicide Squad killed the Justice League. Our last sort of major topic for the podcast today is The Last of Us episode 8. AKA I was thinking it wasn't my favorite episode of the season, but I still think episode 5 is my favorite. Episode 8 is a close second though. I really really love this episode. Titled When We Are in Need. This adapted the iconic winter section from the original game. I think the section that I don't know about you guys, but for me personally, I was like really looking forward to the most to see how they would handle, and it is like almost like one to one, like a straight up adaptation of that whole section of the game. It was really, really, really good. I loved it. What about you guys? How'd you guys feel about this episode?
Much.
Go for it, Walt.
Okay. Listen, I was not looking. I'm okay. I was looking forward to it. I was not looking forward to the first time that Ellie would despair, true despair, and she would realize just how uh, clickers are the least of your problems. The section where you really, and I think this is where like a lot of the conversation started, like, oh, there's not a lot of action or not a lot of like clickers or infected or whatever. No, that's not the biggest issue. The biggest issue that Last of Us, wants to present is that humanity will go down to the very, very like bottom of the barrel solutions and the darkest pits of humanity. And I love how this episode just it did just that. It made us, in good old Last of Us fashion, it made us sad. It made me sad for Ellie. She had to do all that. And dude, the performances, god damn, and David and Troy, oh my god, like, guys, I cannot believe, now this is just set in. It has been 8 weeks. Like, it feels like I watched episode 1 last week. Like, this is crazy. But this episode was and I cannot, man, if I don't watch the finale on Sunday, that means it never ended, so I'm just not going to watch it. Oh, you, Macho.
That's fair. That's fair.
And you, Macho?
That's funny that you say that because I feel like that's my strategy with like some shows that I haven't finished, where like I'm literally on the last episode and I'm like, well, the show hasn't ended yet, because I haven't finished this last episode. So.
But to be fair, real quick, tomorrow being the finale, we haven't done this. My D&D group, we haven't done this for the other episodes, but because it is the finale, we're gonna do a little watch party. At one of my friend's house, she has a room where she has like a big screen and she has a bunch of chairs, like a comfortable chair. So we're gonna watch the finale there, together. Pretty excited for that.
Cool. Hell yeah. Macho, what about you, man?
Yeah, this was an incredible episode. Like, it was one hell of a birthday episode. That's what I'll say.
Sir.
But yeah, that's what I was looking forward to as well, along with Henry and Sam, or Henry and Sam's episode, because of the fact that the David arc is such it's a real turning point for the series, or for just the game itself.
And characters.
Where in the characters, yeah, where you realize that clickers and bloaters and all that stuff is really not like your biggest problem. It's the people that like to manipulate and completely hone in on like a group of people and think that they can control them and stuff like that. And it's really scary to see this form of David in a like realistic sense, and that was portrayed in the show, and it was horrifying, honestly, because this is stuff that really does happen. And in the game, the biggest moment with Ellie, which is near the end of the episode and near that entire arc in the game, there's this one line she says that when I first played it absolutely broke me, because he tried it and then she just cries, and that's when like I realized like, oh dude, and that's when like I put the controller down. I was sobbing in the game, and then in the show it was just much more upfront, and it was horrifying. And the way they did in the show it was just masterful, man. Like, I honestly, the change they did, which is so incredible, it just made it even more sad. And you really believe that Ellie's gonna come from this not the same person, the same way from Henry and Sam. Like, it's traumatic. So I'm really, really eager to see what the next episode does and how she reacts and sort of what her mood is from here on out, because from up to this point, she was pretty not happy-go-lucky, but she was excited of all this. But now all the stuff that's happened to her, she's really gonna rely on Joel to be her rock. And I think at this point, the series does in this episode to really knock out of the park and deliver on all the things that we're all expecting from the game, which it's going to be quite a bit because we're going to introduce to quite a bit more in this episode than what the game offered. So I wonder how it's all going to be balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well said. It was a really, really powerful episode. I think you said it really well just in terms of like, yeah, this is the turning point. Like this is like the classic in stories and in writing, and with a specific I don't know if there's a specific name for it, but at least the way that I structure my book is it's called like a 3-act, 9-block, 27 chapter structure. And so essentially it's this idea of, and this is how literally the Hunger Games is structured in this way, and I would assume tons of other stories are structured in this way too. But it's this idea that your entire story is 27 chapters long, and these specific beats need to happen in every chapter. So like obviously like chapter 1 is the introduction, chapter 2 ideally is like when you have the inciting incident, chapter 3 is like the reaction to the inciting incident, and then so on in like the 20s, somewhere around the 20s, which is roughly on the act 3 of a story, is this thing called the point. um and I believe like that is literally like what this part of the story is. It is like the lowest point for our character, specifically Ellie. And it is like, again, like that classic thing of like the point of no return. Like once this moment happens, like this character is changed. She is set on a course where she is changed forever. And yeah, I love those moments in stories, just seeing like characters like literally brought to their low, their dark, another term for it is called like the darkest moment. And I love those in stories. So it was just so damn good. And again, Bella Ramsey's performance, just like a little difference that I feel like makes all the difference in the world for me. In comparison to the game, is just like when she does have that reunion with Joel, and the fact that like she wasn't even able to like utter like a complete sentence to him. The way that like she just says he, and then like the rest of her words, like obviously she's trying to speak, but it just like comes out as like gibberish, right? Like I don't know why that little difference just like hit me so much harder this time around. Um,
Yeah, the
yeah,
breath she takes when she just goes to him is that's like cemented in my brain.
yeah, and it's the same thing with the when Henry kills himself in episode 5, and that gasp that Ellie lets out in that moment,
Hmm.
like that is a sound that I will never forget as well.
Yeah.
So again, it's just like Ellie, and it's like it's not necessarily like one performance is better than the other in terms of like Ashley Johnson versus Bella Ramsey's portrayal of Ellie. Like there, in my opinion at least, like, it's not one is better than the other. It's just like these two people's like different interpretations of this character, and they are both valid in my mind. They both bring different things to the table that I feel like are worthwhile to this character, and they have both just been really 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 good. um so yeah, man, I adore this episode. I adore the added context that they gave to David and his group of people this time around, like starting the episode off with them. I thought was a really, really neat touch. Just kind of getting to see a little bit more of like that side, because I think this is something that Craig talks about a lot in the after show podcast, is that like, or actually I think Neil's the one that brings up this point, is that like with the games you always have to stay in the perspective of either Joel or Ellie, because those are the characters that you're playing as. Whereas in TV you don't have to do that. So you can actually start off an episode with the talk show hosts, or you can start off an episode in Jakarta, or you can start off an episode with David and his group of people, right? You don't have to always be, in Joel and Ellie's perspective. So I really like that they're taking advantage of that kind of stuff.
I
And
think
that's sort of like the advantages that. Go ahead.
I think that's why season 2 will work more now than it did as a game, because a lot of people had troubles with the back and forth of the game. I think that they have the liberty now of being able to switch perspectives more easily now because it's easily digestible in show form. So I think it's actually going to be. I feel like that's what Neil actually tried with part 2 and why it didn't click with a lot of people because of the structure was very much not traditional gaming structure of, sticking with your protagonist and not going back and forth so much, or, one half one and then the other half the other. Uh, I feel like also with Ellie, with the show, prior to this episode, because this episode is, as you mentioned, the lowest point, we were given a lot more moments of Ellie's inner darkness showing, and now it won't, certain events won't catch us off guard because it was always there. It was just dormant and it was being kept in check. But the game, I don't think ever translated that well until the David situation, where you really get to see Ellie front and center. And she keeps stabbing and stabbing. Like she was truly a survivor there. So I think, in my perspective, this the show has done a way better job at showing how Ellie has always been on the brink of snapping, but Joel has always been there to kind of, hey, don't worry, I'm here. Everything will be fine, type deal.
Yeah, the one thing I noticed too, at least like when I first played the game, this
Mm-hmm.
was a concept I really loved about it was the fact that every time Joel and Ellie would meet people along their journey, it
Mm-hmm.
would just be a reflection of them, but just in a different perspective.
Right.
So Sam and Henry, that's pretty obvious, but more of a brother relationship. And then you have David, who's more of a reflection of Joel in the sense of like he's doing what he can to survive. He's going by any means necessary. So it's like that's the one concept about the game I really loved, and I saw that pretty clearly. But what the show opened up to me was the fact that David saw more of himself in Ellie, like more of as an equal. And I didn't really get that sense when I first played the game.
Mm.
I thought it was just a twisted, sick man wanting to manipulate a, a a little girl, but it was actually more than that, at least for what the show displayed. And I thought that was heartbreaking and horrifying, and but also super clever, and just again adding more context to the game story, just with a fleshed out characterization here.
Yeah, because he tells her when she's in the cage, that you have a violent heart like me. So I thought
Mm-hmm.
that was a really, really cool
Yeah.
line to kind of show that, yeah, that there is something here that connects them, the two of them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I also really liked the so in the beginning of the episode when Ellie is hunting the deer and she actually shoots the deer and James and David end up finding it, and it's like a little detail that I don't think was in the game originally,
Yeah.
or ever. But when she's like threatening James and David, and she's like, step away from the deer or whatever,
Yeah,
drop
buddy
the weapon.
boy.
Yeah, all that, and if you notice, like she like deepens her voice a little bit, like to come off like a little bit more like intimidating or whatever, and it's just so cute because it's like she is like she's trying her best, like she's doing what she thinks is like it will work, um, and I don't know, it's just so cute because it's like this little girl who is on her own and she is really like she's got so much on her shoulders right now and she's just trying her best out there, man. And I don't know, I found that moment like really,
You know what
really
I mean?
cute. Just her like literally trying to um like I don't know, like almost like stiffen up and appear tougher than what she truly is.
Trying to
I really,
intimidate them, yeah.
yeah, I really, really love that moment. Um
Mm.
but yeah, man, just like in terms of like adapting what is probably the best section in the game, which is winter, I think they did like a incredible job, man. Like it was really good. And I also appreciate that like after the Left Behind episode, everyone had this concern, and I think me included, of
Mm.
man, like there is only 2 episodes left. How are they going to finish this, right? It feels like there's still a lot of material that we need to get through.
Mm-hmm.
Um, especially knowing that the last episode is only like I think 45 minutes long. So it felt good that after walking away from episode 8 and them getting through all that material like near flawlessly, that like I feel really good about episode 9 now. That like I I don't have that same fear of like, man, how are they gonna get through all this? Or like, man, is it gonna be rushed or blah blah blah? Like now I'm like I feel like we're good. You know what I mean?
But
Like we'll
I don't think it's
go ahead.
that much. I think in gaming form, it feels like a lot because there's a lot of traversing and there's a lot of lore that you can pick up along the way. But I think in show form, I think there's just enough to make a 45-minute episode feel pretty well paced. And also your point, yeah, they can pace a lot of information at once and make it not feel rushed. But I mean, we have moments that are for sure going to take front and center stage. Certain tall necks, if I may. um, but I don't know. I think it's
I
Yeah,
think
I think when it gets to that Salt Lake part of the game
yeah.
and cutscenes, it's actually like 45 minutes or so, if I remember correctly.
yeah, like,
Okay.
and I think you're right. Like it's not like they're gonna spend like 20 minutes on the hospital fight. You
Yeah.
know, like that is something that like you don't need to spend a ton of time of just like 20 minutes of just Joel shooting people. Like you don't need to do that.
A lot of
So
people are gonna want that though, so
Which
at least
is-
But there
a lot
will.
of game fans are gonna
No,
want that. So
but here's the
they're
thing.
gonna be. I have a feeling it's gonna upset more game fans than usually.
No, but
it's just
Macho,
boring to watch though. Like I don't know about you guys, but like I don't want to watch 20 minutes of just like Joel shooting people.
I don't think it's that it's going to be a lot of shooting. I think that he's finally going to let loose, and he's finally going to be. We've every other episode we've been hinted at his past, his dark history, the things he did. Well, it's good. History is going to repeat itself, and we're going to see the part of Joel that he never wanted to show Ellie, but he's going to show it to us and not Ellie, because he doesn't show that side to Ellie at any given point. But this is the moment that we are going to see it for the first
Yeah.
time, and I think that's going to be the real kicker. That's not going to be the most, because again, that's the thing, guys. We have new information. Did y'all see the Twitter picture that they shared? A good old Ashley Johnson with a pregnant belly in the woods. So we're not only going to get what we know is going to happen.
Yeah.
We're going to get a new information. We're going to get a new lore. We're probably going to get a lot of context for maybe Ellie's behavior, a lot of maybe genetics, maybe Ashley in the show is a badass and she's like, no, I'll make my own C-section or something. I don't know if it's going to get that far. Whatever.
What the fuck?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, so they're definitely adding, that stuff with Anna.
Yes, sir.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm not nervous. I think they're gonna nail it. And then also I was listening to the Last of Us soundtrack for the show, and they're playing this song. Well, I'm assuming they're gonna play this song called Vengeance, which is like a remix of the song. I think it's called All Gone from the original soundtrack. And I'm assuming that they're gonna play this song like when Joel like gets Ellie out of the hospital. He's like carrying her body and like running through the hospital and whatever.
Oh man.
But like, that
Spoilers.
song, if you guys can like look it up, like that song is so goddamn badass. So like I'm really excited to hear this song playing in the episode tomorrow. But yeah, it's gonna be. I'm really like the thing is that like since we all know how this game ends. I think it's
Yes,
like one of the
sir.
best video game endings like of all time.
Mhm.
I'm really curious for people who like, because I'm watching a lot of people who like have never played the game before and have like no idea, like their reactions and stuff like that. I'm really curious to see people's reactions to like the big like decision at the end of this thing, and how are people gonna be on Joel's side, or are they gonna be more sympathetic to the more like the greater good aspect of that decision, so like
Yeah.
that's one thing I'm really looking forward to. And it's kind of going to like I feel like that's gonna give us an idea of how people are gonna feel about part two, because
Yep.
like okay, like if these people agree with Joel, and maybe it makes that pill tougher to swallow in part 2 of what happens to a certain character, right? So like
Yeah.
all that stuff, man, it's gonna be really interesting tomorrow.
I'm the
Yeah,
two.
it's funny seeing like the live stream to the Lord of the Rings live stream that I follow, like the OneRing.net. Those two guys are big one big Lord of the Rings fans. Why I follow them because they have a whole bunch of insight on like the Rings of Power show. But
Yeah.
they also and every time they bring up The Last of Us, they mention just how monumental like that show is, like how it is for storytelling, for a character study. Like they talk about it in such high regard without playing the game, and to that, that's like to me, it's like damn, like Neil and Craig really doing something here, you know, like beyond our little gaming bubble. Like it's cool to see other people that whose opinions I respect, like on storytelling, and for ones that are like super, like they are to a T when it comes to storytelling excellence, which is why like they report a lot like on Lord of the Rings stuff and expect more from Rings of Power. They look at The Last of Us as like this standing like ovation of like what great TV can be, and it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Um, yeah. So that is I think The Last of Us episode 8. Episode 9, of course, premiering tomorrow, the season finale. When do you guys think season 2 will start filming? Do you guys think it just like films immediately, like later this year? Or do they wait a little bit? Because I feel like they need to wait a little bit for Bella Ramsey to age up a little bit. I don't know. How do you guys feel that they'll handle like that stuff specifically?
Oh man, that's a tough one.
I think they'll probably start filming not immediately, but I had to assume that they're gonna film the flashbacks pretty early.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I mean, Bella Ramsey's not even with age up a bit. I don't know if like because certain people don't really age physically. I think like in this point, you just make some movie magic and make her look a bit older, not older and like like too much because she's already an adult. I think she's like 18 or 19. I think that's like the age that Ellie has in part 2, like roughly, right?
Yeah.